Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Britain has denied Russian reports that its military fired warning shots at a UK destroyer in the Black Sea. Moscow's defence ministry said the HMS Defender, seen here sailing off the coast of Istanbul in Turkey earlier this month, entered Russian waters near Crimea, forcing a patrol ship to fire warning shots. But Britain's Ministry of Defence said no warning shots had been fired at HMS Defender. It added that the ship was sailing in Ukrainian waters. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has marked the 5th anniversary of the country's Brexit referendum while addressing lawmakers in Parliament.
It has given us the freedom to establish 8 free ports across the country, driving new investment, to develop the fastest vaccine rollout in Europe, to protect and invest in jobs and renewal across every part of the UK, to control our immigration system, and to sign a historic trade deal with Australia. It will allow us to shape a better future for our people.
Britain's exit concluded on December 31st, 2020, just days after it clinched a trade deal with the European Union. However, difficulties with that deal, particularly surrounding a hard border in Northern Ireland, remain. The Office of Budget Responsibility says issues caused by Brexit have lowered Britain's GDP by 0.5% in the first quarter of the year. Hong Kong's largest pro-democracy newspaper, the Apple Daily, has announced its closure in what's considered to be a major blow to media freedoms in the city. The paper's management said that in view of staff members' safety, it had decided to cease operation immediately after midnight, making Thursday's publication the final edition. The publication's offices were raided last week over allegations that several reports had breached a controversial national security law. Company-linked assets worth $2.3 million were frozen, and police also detained its chief editor and 5 other executives. India has classified a new variant of the coronavirus, first identified in Europe, as a variant of concern. India's health ministry says studies showed that the so-called Delta Plus variant spreads more easily. It's been found in 9 other countries outside India so far. It is related to the Delta variant, which was first identified in India last year. Dozens of people have reportedly been killed or injured after Ethiopia's air force bombed a market in the northern region of Tigray. The Ethiopian military denied targeting civilians, saying it carried out the strikes to neutralize terrorists. Tigrayan rebel forces are said to have made advances in recent days. Thousands of people have been killed so far and millions displaced after conflict erupted almost 8 months ago. Communities in Madagascar are on the verge of starvation, with women and children walking for hours to reach food. That's according to the World Food Programme. It's after the worst drought in 4 decades devastated the south of the island. According to the WFP, acute malnutrition has almost doubled over the last 4 months, with more than a quarter of people suffering in one area. The leader of Spain's opposition People's Party has called on Pedro Sanchez to resign a day after the government pardoned 9 jailed Catalan independence leaders. Separatist leaders, jailed over their role in the failed 2017 bid for independence, walked out of prison to cheers on Wednesday after the central government granted them pardons. Opposition parties have said they will challenge the pardons in court, arguing that they would give new strength to the separatist movement. Former presidential candidate Andrew Yang has dropped out of the race to become the Democratic candidate for New York mayor after coming fourth in the primary election.
What a beautiful night in New York City, everyone.
Mr. Yang, a tech entrepreneur who attracted a devoted following during his bid to be the Democratic presidential candidate in the 2020 election, had been the front runner to become the party's New York candidate, but he conceded after early results put him in a distant 4th place. And finally, swapping the towering skyline of New York for the grounds of the Vatican, Spider-Man has joined Pope Francis for his weekly general audience. Sat among the socially distant faithful, a person dressed in the famous red and blue costume was seen listening to the pontiff's message. Spider-Man then gave Pope Francis his very own mask as the 2 famous figures greeted each other at the end of the weekly audience. The man behind the mask says he was allowed to meet the Pope because of his work dressing up in costumes to cheer up sick children. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.